Hello, I'm Denise Botcher, State Director for AARP Louisiana. Thank you for joining us for this important roundtable discussion on protecting yourself and your community from fraud and scams. We're proud to partner with the advocate for today's conversation, focused on the Shreveport and Bossier areas, where scams aren't just an inconvenience. They're a growing and dangerous threat to older adults and their families. At AARP, we hear far too many heartbreaking stories of people losing thousands of dollars, sometimes their life savings, to scammers pretending to be government officials, family members, tech support, or even romantic partners. And now cryptocurrency scams, especially those targeting victims at virtual currency kiosks, are among the fastest growing threats in Louisiana. That's why AARP Louisiana is doing more than raising just awareness. We're taking action. This year, we helped pass House Bill 483, a new law that puts strong consumer protections in place at crypto kiosks, one of the most common tools scammers are using to drain accounts. We also backed a resolution to create a statewide fraud task force, bringing together lawmakers, advocates, and law enforcement agencies to better protect Louisianians from scams. But our work doesn't just stop at the Capitol. Today, it's about bringing the fight against fraud home to Northwest Louisiana and equipping you with the tools to spot a scam, shut it down, and protect those around you. Because when we stay informed and work together, we are Louisiana's strongest defense against fraud. Enjoy the discussion.
Hello, everyone. I'm Liz Swaine, the business editor for the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate and your host for today's webcast on senior fraud prevention. This is a big deal, a big deal. Does it feel like everyone's trying to cheat you? Sadly, that is not far from the truth, is it? In the past few days, I have gotten warnings in my inbox from the Federal Trade Commission about online friends asking for money scams, about online vacation rental scams, online job scams, student loan forgiveness scams. The Louisiana Office of Motor Vehicles just sent out a warning about a bogus text message scam, allegedly coming from them saying that you have an outstanding traffic ticket. The Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office continues to have problems with someone pretending to be a deputy, claiming that you owe money because you missed jury duty or some other type of scam. There are more scams almost every day. There are more victims almost every day. And unfortunately, there are more seniors being targeted. From these fake calls to crypto cons, and we're going to talk about those as well, fraud is now high-tech, high-pressure, and pervasive. Today, we're going to be joined by three frontline experts who fight this, who hear about it, who sweat over it every single day. We're going to cover what's trending. We're going to tell you how to spot a scam, which is so very important. And more importantly, how to protect yourself, your loved ones, your friends, even people you don't know so well. So, Joanne Deal, thank you so much for being here. Joanne has been with the Better Business Bureau for 16 years as the BBB manager for the Monroe area. She sees it all day, every day, and has lived to tell about it. Laura Seabaugh, she handles North Louisiana outreach for Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill. Laura has been a driving force in advancing initiatives to combat elder fraud, focusing on education, protecting vulnerable populations across North Louisiana. And finally, Sergeant Doug Smith. His time in law enforcement has seen him as head of the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office Special Victims Unit, a financial crimes detective. He's been the head of the CPSO cybercrimes unit, and the task force officer for both the FBI and the U.S. Secret Service on cyber fraud. So he certainly has been part of this for many years and has all the ins and outs of how these people are trying to grab money from us. So I'm going to start with him because you're the closest, because you see it every single day, because it is your full-time job. And then I'm going to have all of you jump into this. There are red flags in every fraud. Sure. Or every fraud attempt. So let's start with the red flags, if you will.
Sure. So as far as like a lot of the scams that we see on a regular basis, and there's a million of them out there. They all tend to be kind of a different variation of sort of the same thing. But as far as red flags that I would tell people to look out for, one thing, anybody that contacts you when they seem to be rushing you, trying to hurry you, like make it, no, look, you have to take care of this today, fast, fast, fast. You're going to have a warrant for your arrest, or you have to take care of this right now. You can't hang up the phone and talk to anybody. That should be a big red flag, because especially if they're calling saying they're the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, something like that, we don't do business like that. For that matter, we don't call you and tell you that you owe us money. You usually find that out, on your own. So if they're trying to rush you through that, they are trying to not give you a chance to stop and think, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. I didn't get jury duty, or I don't have an outstanding check that was unpaid. They want to rush you so you don't have time to think about it. Another red flag is when they are trying to get you to use non-conventional payment methods. If they are trying to tell you, like, we accept payment by, prepaid gift cards, go to Walgreens, I'll stay on the phone with you and walk you through how to do it. Again, we don't do business that way. Legitimate businesses do not seek payment through disposable gift cards. So that's just not something that they do. So those are a couple of red flags to look for right off the top. And then some of them things everybody has heard over the years, stories about it seems kind of quaint now considering how sophisticated some of these scams have gotten. But it used to be the wealthy Nigerian prince scams. You would get the
right.
all the way back to faxes that would show up unsolicited in an office. And you would kind of laugh at them. They were worded awkwardly and everything like that. But that still holds true today. If you get some kind of a strange email and it's not worded right, that should also be a red flag.
Laura, there are common threads with scams, aren't there?
Right, and everything you're saying obviously is spot on. You're the expert. So in my role for the Attorney General's office is I go out to educate the public, because we have so many people who are trying to clean the messes up after they happen. Yeah. And so our office created my team to maybe inform people before they happen. And so we talk a lot about these identifiers and red flags. One thing that's been really shocking lately to me, and let me know if you've seen it, is they're asking for crypto payment. I had a 90-year-old gentleman that I know personally who was scammed out of a grand amount of money, and I asked, how did the money get sent? And he said, I sent crypto, and I couldn't send crypto. I don't invest in crypto. I was shocked because he's still struggling to work his computer at this point. And so they were able to identify, they knew where he lived, they knew a crypto kiosk, like an ATM at a gas station locally, and they sent him there. But I will tell you, our office worked on that. I'm very proud of Attorney General Liz Murrell had a bill that was a part of her package this year that has passed. I'm not sure if it's been signed yet, but it's during the crypto, I don't know if you followed it or not, the crypto ATM. Now they're limited to only $3,000. That can be sent, because before I think the limit was about $10,000, and also I think there's a 72-hour waiting period. So our office is actively seeking things out, but we are again going out to meet with the general public. Heightened emotions are a big deal, and I don't care if you think you're in love and you've met the person of your dreams from Russia who needs money, or if you are scared to death because if your family finds out you didn't pay this bill, they might put you in a nursing home. There's shame, there's all sorts of emotions tugging at you, and they use that lack of clarity. That's when the manipulation starts. And so I really want seniors to, when you're feeling powerful emotions, to remember that. Now, they can have you calmly signing contracts, which you've talked about as well, or you will be talking about as well. And that feels a little calmer. But anytime there's heightened emotion and pressure, and then code words, wire transfers, gift cards, and then crypto. I mean, a lot of times, so.
I'm like you. If somebody could call me and say, hey, pay me in crypto, and I'd go, I've got no idea how to do it.
Exactly.
So it is remarkable to me that these bad guys and gals knew where the person lived and where to send them to purchase the crypto. I mean, that's how good they're getting.
Right.
Well, so much stuff nowadays. I mean, we're all so online nowadays, and social media platforms and everything like that. That information's out there if you know how to find it. And talking about the crypto ATMs, that's something that's become much more common over the last several years. I remember when they first started popping up around here, we thought, who's this for?
Yes.
And like if there's a legitimate reason to buy cryptocurrency by feeding cash into a machine in a gas station, I'm not aware of it.
Right.
Like that's people that trade and buy crypto, like that's not how they do it. So like the only instances I can think of for using these crypto ATMs is to scam people and to do sketchy and illegal things.
Right. I do know whenever you send the money, there's a ticket that is given to you, and there's an address number on it. So if you call law enforcement, you can actually show them that. And I think they can shut down that number.
So they can't, and usually that number is the wallet, that you sent that money to.
Okay.
Now crypto that can get kind of complicated, because once they get it into a crypto wallet, then they start doing what they kind of call tumbling, where they send it to another crypto wallet where it's mixed with a lot of other funds. So it gets very complicated very fast once you take that step of feeding cash into a machine. It can be hard to recover it.
So Joanne, I want to talk to you about the fact that no one should sign anything unless they are absolutely certain of what they're signing, because the bad guys, let's face it, they're incentivized not to tell you the truth about what it is you're signing. And I'm talking to Joanne specifically about some scams that we've seen in the Monroe area in Northwest Louisiana having to deal with solar panel fraud.
Absolutely.
Where people are thinking that they're signing information for information to be sent to them about the solar panels, about what they do, about how much energy they may save. But in fact, they're signing something different, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's called DocuSign. It can be done on a phone or an iPad. We've had numerous people in the Shreveport and Monroe area suffer from this. Just like the scams we're talking about here, the Better Business Bureau is here to help you sort things out. The Attorney General's office is here for you to have that educational piece, but also to file complaints with the Consumer Protection Division. And of course, law enforcement is most important, because if you don't have a police report, you can't prove that a crime happened. And with regard to the solar panels, it's just like the same problem with other financial crime. You have to be able to prove that you were manipulated. So to begin with the educational component from the Attorney General's office, again, let us remind you, do not sign. Don't sign on paper. Definitely don't sign on a phone or an iPad where you can't even see what it is, the contents of the document. We have reams and reams of paper with people's signatures on them for things they had no idea that they agreed to. So here we go. This is the nature of the problem of proof. Whether it's the Attorney General's office or law enforcement, the BBB is here for you to make a phone call or do an online search of a business before you make any kind of commitment or decision. The Better Business Bureau has information and profiles, is what we call them technically, for businesses that we know about. So this is called the Better Business Bureau Complaint or Dispute Resolution Function. New to the scene and working extremely well is what we call Scam Tracker. If a business exists, we want you to file a BBB complaint if you have a problem with a trust issue. Our logo is know who to trust, start with trust. Our TV slogan is doing business better. And so what we want you to understand is that businesses are also consumers. There's business-to-business crime. There's business-to-business deceit. And these guys work with that, but you have to be able to explain and prove what happened. If you think you were scammed, but you don't have any information, or you didn't bother to write down the details, the date, time, and what happened, then they have trouble helping you.
It's almost impossible to prove. And that's what you're talking about with this DocuSign. So the DocuSign, in some cases, people are actually signing a loan document that is encumbering them to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for solar panels that they may not have wanted.
Correct. So for those of you who had door-to-door people,
Yes.
for whatever reason,
Door-to-door.
door-to-door is the major piece that is working so well. Seniors are people who like to talk to other people.
Right.
They
Right.
don't want to be isolated. But I'm here to tell you, if somebody shows up at your door, it's not a friendly visit. If they ask you for information, if you open the door and they ask you if you have a security system or they ask you what your electricity bill is, don't answer. As a matter of fact, we're encouraging seniors to take their cell phone to the door, have it on camera, and take a picture. If you are going to open the door, you need to be able to take a picture of the person who's there and also do a video. So we encourage you to go to camera, go to video, and hit start if you're going to open the door.
That is such great advice. Let me pull Doug in on this because you're talking about door to door. Aren't there laws against door to door solicitation? I know it probably depends parish by parish.
Sure,
correct?
there are ordinances about it, but I mean, for the most part, if somebody shows as disreputable as they may be, showing up at your door, peddling whatever they're peddling, most of the time they're not necessarily committing a crime just by coming to your door. What they do after that is a different story. But
Right.
as much as we would all like, just like we would all like to be able to not have the spam calls on our phones, we'd love for people to not be able to come knock on the door, but we have to deal with it the way it is, unfortunately.
So I would like to interject that law enforcement does encourage you to post no solicitation and no trespassing on the front of your yard. You can make it pretty. You can put it in your flower
Put
bed.
flowers around it. Yeah.
But the point is, if
Right.
you have your property posted, which is kind of strange in the city, but I promise you at our office building, we have no solicitation at the bottom of the building. Nobody can come in selling stuff on the floors. But
That's
the
a
point
great
is,
idea.
law enforcement has something to work with
Right.
if you will post your property. Also, there's a new trespassing law that says that if you don't have your property posted, but if you ask someone to leave, but again, here's where that cell phone and that video camera
That's
comes in.
right. How
If
do you
you
prove
can
it?
record yourself saying, please leave, I do not want that, then law enforcement has something to work with, and the Attorney General's office complaint side has something to work with. So here's the deal. If this gentleman in Monroe that I'm currently working with sent this person away, not once, not twice, but on the third time, this young man, the same young man from out of town, college age, who had no reason to really be in the area where my consumer lived, got this man to sign his phone. We don't really know exactly what the conversation was, but we filed a complaint through the Attorney General's office, and the company comes back to say that they had a script. And this young man can prove that he did the script. The consumer says no. He was not, the script, the sales script that's supposed to be approved is not what happened at his home, but he can't prove it.
Can't prove,
So-
and that's where we go to proof.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Having that proof is such an important thing, and I love the tip about just turn your video on your cell phone and just record all of it, and then that way you've got something to go with.
Well, my question would also be, with the new Ring doorbells,
Yes.
is that
absolutely.
a great help?
Absolutely. With Ring internet connected doorbells, anything like that, they're common nowadays. That can come in handy, especially if someone comes up ringing the doorbell. Then you've got a recording of their interaction
Entire
with
whole
you and
situation.
everything, and you don't have to worry about where
That is
someone's
a great
recording
point,
it.
because we have had a case that was reversed because of Ring. But most importantly, we've had 2 cases that were prevented.
Yeah.
Because we are doing the
Prevention is key.
education, all
Yeah.
of us. That's why we're here today.
That's
We
right.
are telling people, don't answer the door. We are telling people, if you sign something, get it immediately. What happened in my second case this spring was an individual went to the door. The man of the home has dementia. So he talked to someone and he was signing the phone when his wife then entered the room.
Oh my.
Then the wife witnessed that, but it wasn't until the next day that she decided to call the Better Business Bureau. So when she called us, I said, Mary, go to the documents in his phone, see if they sent a loan application to his phone. And that's when she discovered what he has actually signed. So this happens in a matter of moments.
Right. Yeah.
And so we were able to prevent that contract from going through. We had another incident.
I'm going to stop you right there because we're going to talk about some other things.
Okay.
Door-to-door is important, but I think what we are seeing as a society right now is less door-to-door, even though the ones that we do see are heinous and they are tens of thousands of dollars. But what we are seeing is every kind of other method that you can imagine.
Right.
People are texting, people are calling, people are emailing, people are private messaging on social media. So is there something that people need to know about right now? What is the du jour? I'll come back to you in just a sec. Is there the du jour that's
As
out
far
there?
as text and phone scams that are going on right now?
Anything other than door-to-door.
You know, it seems like all these scams, nothing's particularly new. They kind of run through cycles. I know that here lately, I've gotten I've gotten a lot of the
DM.
toll tag text. You know, oh, you have an outstanding toll tag. You know, I got that on my work phone, as a
Right.
matter of fact, which isn't tied to any car. You know,
It's the Go Pass.
yeah,
I think,
yeah,
you know, all the groups that I speak to, I've been asking them if you receive everybody.
And you have to think about it
Everybody.
for a minute, especially if you've been to Dallas recently. It's like, did I roll through a toll booth?
Yeah.
Is
toll
there,
booth.
is
Yeah.
there one in
Think about it.
Louisiana that I missed?
And it even when I first got it, it took me a second because we go to Dallas quite a bit, and then I thought, wait a minute, this is my work phone. They wouldn't have this number, you know.
Right.
So we see that a lot. You know, you mentioned earlier somebody, you know, calling pretending to be a Caddo deputy.
That happened to one of our employees. He got the call, and he said the guy was so slick and so friendly.
And knows the lingo.
Knew the lingo, and he also, the way that our employee tricked him was by asking, like, who was the mascot for the Bossier
Hockey.
High School or something like I don't know. It was something that was off the wall, and the fellow who was talking to him didn't know, and he thought, well, you know, he probably would have known that if
Red
he'd
flag.
been
Sure.
local.
Right.
Yeah. We've seen
was
that. That's
smart.
kind of an evergreen scam that's been going around just forever. You know, so we see all kinds all the time.
You know, one of the big things, I'm actually doing a story on it today, as a matter of fact, is about identity theft. Louisiana is, I think, the 8th nation in the U.S., or the 8th largest number of identity thefts.
Most likely.
Yeah, happening in Louisiana. So that is an old-timey thing. You know, that's one of those things that goes around in the sheriff that you came on to the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office with, Sheriff Steve Prater. His identity was stolen. And he said it was a nightmare. He said it was an absolute nightmare. It took him years to overcome it. It dinged his credit scores. People were taking out all kinds of credit cards in his name. I think he tracked it to maybe Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was and he's the sheriff, and he was still having a very difficult time with it.
So let's talk about the worst player on the street.
Who's that?
Facebook.
Oh,
I was actually,
yes.
If you
I have a
haven't
story.
realized how dangerous Facebook is,
Right.
there's an elephant in the room everywhere we go. And so all the identity theft and social media problems, especially the grandparent scam, has been linked to somebody putting a picture on a Facebook page, and scammers all around the world can just copy and paste that anywhere. So,
Right.
you know,
Well,
with the
and
deep fake.
the questions also.
Exactly. The security
so it'll
questions.
Say,
My grandmother's.
Times were better when we were younger. It was so much fun. Our generation was great. Do you remember your first grade teacher? And so, you know, and it's set on public to the entire world, which means every
These are
criminal
your
in the
security
entire
questions
world.
we're
These are
talking
your
about
banking
here.
security questions
Oh,
that
my
they're
goodness.
asking you,
Your
and people
first
are
dog.
willingly answering. Yeah.
Your first dog.
First dog.
The
your-
street where you lived when you were
Yes.
little, the name
Your
of your
school.
elementary school, your pet name for your grandmother, grandfather.
Right.
All of these things, and birth announcements. Let's be really careful about wedding dates, birth announcements, and birthdays and anniversaries.
Yeah, especially if
Let's
it's your
be
banking
really,
passwords.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's be really
You
careful.
shouldn't do that.
And this is so sad. Obituaries are used to get information and to put family scenarios together for scams.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something interesting, and this is just a story I heard from a group that I spoke to recently, where a woman told me that a friend of hers Facebook account had been hacked, and she didn't know it, but she got a phone call through Facebook that was her friend's face speaking to her, but it was AI.
Oh, my heavens.
We're talking deep
picture.
fake with AI.
Right.
Oh, sure.
Very
And-
difficult, especially for law enforcement and the judicial system. How are we going to prove this?
And I was going to ask Doug, I mean, what sort of training are you getting right now on AI and all the different Pandora's box that can open?
Sure, it's a problem we're still trying to kind of come to grips with. You know, AI especially really has exploded over the last couple of years. So there's a lot of new things that we're still having to deal with. And, you know, right now we don't have a lot of good tools for dealing with that. You know, we see some stuff that's AI generated online now, and you kind of roll your eyes at it. And it looks kind of silly, but there's some convincing things out there.
Yeah.
You know, and like as far as like how the scammers are using them. You know, I was joking earlier about the old poorly worded Nigerian prince things. You know, you don't see as much of that anymore.
Grammar's
because
better.
They can throw it into an
Right,
AI
exactly.
tool, and it cleans it up for them, and like gets the grammar right and
Yeah.
everything like that. So it makes it a little bit harder to pick up on. So it's a challenge.
And you throw in aging populations.
Right.
And, you know, I'll even say I can talk to a group and 5 years later, talk to this group again, and each of those people, even if it's the same, they're in a different phase of their lives, where before they had great discernment and they move on in life. And we're all, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, that we are all aging, and what they're hoping is that we're lonely. We really want someone to talk to, because that opens the door. If you'll have a word with them, then the door's open. That you've maybe have a nest egg somewhere, and that they can get to your heart, you know, and just.
You know, I had it's been several years ago now, but there was a lady that came to us, unfortunately, a little bit too late. And, you know, she was a widow, and her husband had left her with a house that was paid for, car in the driveway, money in the bank.
Right.
And, you know, she answered the phone and got wrapped up in a lottery scam. You know, you've won the
Publishers-
lottery of El
Publishers
Salvador
Clearing.
Oh, that's been
and that
wonderful
kind of
too.
thing.
Yes.
It's come back.
It's popped up. I'm hearing it again as
There's
well.
a lot of that,
You're
and
right.
by the time she reached out to us, you know, she had mortgaged the house, sold the car, all the money in the bank was gone, and you know, we came to the house and she was playing us, you know, recordings on her answering machine where the guy was still calling her, and she said, "I still want to answer the phone," because he would call her. The message he played for us, you know, and he said, "Mama, I don't care about the money. I just want you to pick. I just want you to know that. I just want to know you're okay." You know, and you know, she was lonely, and like this guy actually
Right.
acted interested in her, and so he just, you know, took her
Yeah.
for everything he could get.
The lonely part is huge. So it's very important that all of us figure out a way in our, you know, everyday communities to bring social life back to seniors, especially when there's the death of a spouse or the death of a child, because aging is definitely impacted and accelerated with that kind of loss. And so there is a great video. It's a 3-part series, a YouTube video that's called Just Hang Up. And it takes the Publishers Clearinghouse scam, and it takes it from its inception all the way through all the cycles. I mean, they even go to the Western Union office, and they have the people there who are waiting to get the money that was scammed away. So again, Just Hang Up is a great thing for seniors to know about and to show parts of it for any time you have a group gathering. There's nothing more important than letting everyone in the community know that we're here for them, because seniors are not the only people who are lonely. Our veterans are so lonely when they come back from war. We see so many crimes against the military and the military families. They've given so much already. And here we are in a time of national potential crisis where we need to support one another. No matter what your political feelings are, we are one country under God. We deserve each other, and we deserve to care about each other, and every individual deserves positive regard. So no matter what's going on in the rest of the world, just remember, scams are a form of terrorism. They are designed to keep you from reaching out and keeping you from trusting one another. We are all here today because we care about each other, we care about our community, we care about our seniors, but we also care about our young people.
And let's talk about young people for just a
The largest
moment.
growing identity theft is with children.
That's exactly right.
Children.
Right.
Their credit is being ruined before they even get to apply for financial aid for college.
And then there are also older, like teenagers and a little bit older, early 20s. They just haven't been exposed to as many scams over their lifetimes because their lifetimes have been shorter.
Right.
And so they're falling for things, and they are also consumers of social media, not only Facebook and TikTok, but all the other, good heavens, whatever is going on that particular day. So there are, you say, Doug, that it's kind of a different take on the same story when you're talking about scams. There are those, so it's very confusing. I mean, we're talking about everything. We're talking about people knocking on your door. We're talking about text. We're talking about cyber. We're talking about crypto. And it can become very confusing.
Right.
Sure.
So let's try to boil it down into some easily digestible pieces, right? So let's start with, again,
Your cell phone.
Yeah.
so everything that's close to you has the potential to cheat you,
Exactly.
right? To set you up, to put you in a position that you don't want to be, and then to make you so embarrassed about having fallen from it, for it, that you don't want to tell anybody,
Exactly.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
tell people.
Well, one of the things I tell,
Exactly.
a lot of it is kind of a generational thing. I understand. My mother all the time. She'll tell me. I get a lot of phone calls from other family members, but especially my mother will call and she said, "Well, I got a call about this or a text about this. Is this a scam?" And I said, "Mom, it's always a scam." But
It's always
Yeah, I
but
always
I've
say
told her-
start from the point
Yeah.
that it is a scam.
Right. And
Just
then
Until
work
you find out
backwards.
it's not.
Backwards.
But I
Work
asked,
your way backwards.
Exactly.
but I asked my mom. I said, "Mom, why'd you answer the phone?" She said, "Well,
It
they called.
rang."
It rang." And I said, "Mom," I tell her a million times, just don't answer the phone. Don't answer it. And she said,
Yeah.
"Well, it might be important." I said, "Then they'll leave a message, and you'll know it's important.
Yeah.
Don't answer the phone." And that's the biggest advice I try to give to people. If you just don't answer the phone in the first place, then you don't have to worry about getting wrapped up in this.
That's true.
And
The
does
BBB
that
uses that all
hold
the
true
time.
for any text that you get that's unsolicited too?
Yeah. So
and-
the nice thing about text is that you can respond to a text at your in your own time. So you have time to kind of look at it and you can show it to
Right.
someone. Does this make sense to you? And where they get you a lot of time is they'll send a text that seems legitimate and it'll be from your bank or your credit card company or whatever,
Right.
and they provide a convenient link for you to click on.
Right.
Well, what I tell people all the time, don't click on the link that's in the text message. If you go, "Well, I have an account with this bank and this seems like it's from my bank," go to your bank's,
Right.
whatever way you
Yeah.
normally communicate with your bank. If you bank online, which is fine, log into your account the way you normally do. Call your bank,
Right.
go to your bank, anything like that. But don't click on the link that they send you because they're very good at, they'll send you to a web page. It looks like the login for your bank and it looks like everything. Well, that's kind of weird. It doesn't remember my password. It usually remembers it. Let me go ahead and enter it in here, and then that's how they get your information.
I know I have a lot of people bring up Amazon because more of the population are using Amazon. And so we talk about that. I personally use the app.
Sure.
So just don't even look at it. Go to your app. Go to the way you attack. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. If you get a text that says it's Amazon and "Oh, we had a difficulty with your payment," click on this link. Just go to the app.
PayPal. So
PayPal,
Amazon linked to PayPal, which in the last 3 days, we've had lots of calls about Comcast impersonators. So what happens is every aspect of life that you're using, because nowadays so many people have their internet and their phone service through their cable service, it's all connected. So that's good,
Right.
but it's also bad. Because once you have a breach, everything's breached. So you have to think, and as all of you have pointed out, what is the worst possible thing that could happen, and start from there. So the people call the Better Business Bureau, the people who get most angry on my voicemail is when they have one of these things and I don't call them back immediately. I mean, it's so important to
Sure.
give feedback to all the people that you know and care about and let them know, call me before you click or go anywhere or buy anything, call us and let us help you. You are never alone, and you should not answer something that says you have to do this within 3 days.
Right.
Because most of the new DMV things say that you have to do it within 90 days, within 72 hours or 3 days or 2 days. None of that is true. And with we've talked about the process servers where you didn't show up for court. That is not how they contact you. Medicare is not going to call you at home. The IRS is not going to call you at home. We have people who are very smart, who are very notable, who have driven around all over town getting money out of their bank from different locations. Yeah. Anybody can be fooled at any time. Right. That includes the 4 of us. So we just have to stick together and know who to trust.
Exactly, and we have talked about this, Liz, where shame is plays such a big role, because it can be the reason you get scammed, because you're ashamed, because you think you didn't do something properly, and so your family's going to find out, but then there's shame after it happens, so you don't tell anybody, and that empowers the bad guys. And
it does.
It really does.
Very good point.
Yeah, I think that's the reason a lot of this stuff is so underreported a lot of the time, because they fall victim to them. They're shamed, and they're worried that if their family finds out, then maybe they won't have as much be allowed as much independence and that kind of thing. But also part of it is, I think once they get into this, they fall for this scam and they start sending money, then at some point it's kind of the sunk cost fallacy. They think, well, I'm so far in, I really need this for this to be true now, with a lot of these lottery scams.
And they become money mules. And so we've had law enforcement come and help us help others, because they lost a bunch of money, and then the scammer said, well, we can help you get it back. And then they become part of the scam. So all of these things are possible. They are happening. But we are here to tell you that as a community, we will help you. Right. No one should ever be embarrassed. No one should ever feel like they can't report.
Everybody has the potential of being scammed.
This is true.
And as you're talking about the very intelligent, very with it people who fall for this, and because the scammers are getting better and slicker and better every day. You've got some information
Well, and I brought
too,
some of our educational packets. We have information. This is an elder fraud prevention book, and it covers a lot of different kinds of scams. All of these are available on our website, the Office of Attorney General Liz Merle, and it's under Resource and Education. So I have hard copies of these. We also have the links that can be shared anywhere. One thing that's good in here in the very back, something that you mentioned,
the resources are excellent,
is how to report fraud, and it actually gives you a checklist of things to write down and make note of. Maybe before if you're in the middle of it, I'll write all this down because I need to tell the sheriff's department what's going on.
Absolutely.
These are great resources. And things to check. We do internet safety for families and for children. Because like the identity theft for kids, there are all sorts of different things that can happen to kids. And so it's like how to be a kid and deal with this, and then how to raise these children. I do think it's part of the scams. It may not be financial, but people are after your children as well.
Predators are everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Predators are in every form of life, regardless of your age.
If you think you have been scammed, what is the first thing you should do?
So I think that if, I would say off right offhand, contact us. Call the sheriff's office, call the Shreveport Police Department. We're a task force with them, so it's going to get you to the same place.
But whoever your local law enforcement is,
whoever your local law enforcement is, contact us. That's a good place to start. We're usually up on what most of the scams are making the rounds right now. So if you have is this a scam question, we're happy to answer it. We're probably going to say it's a scam, kind of like we talked about. But if it's a scam where you have made a bank transfer or something like that, in that case, I would say contact your bank first, because a lot of the time, not as often as we'd like, but a lot of the time they can put the brakes on that. They can maybe freeze an account. They can roll that back sometimes, but you have a very narrow window of time where that's possible. So if you've made some kind of a wire transfer or something like that, first call your bank and then call us, but otherwise call us.
Okay.
Right. In our office, we have a consumer protection hotline that's actually staffed by our attorneys. The number is 1-800-351-4889. You can contact that. I do say call your local law enforcement first, always. My outreach team, we cover every inch of the state of Louisiana, and we go into community centers, church meetings, lunches. There's almost neighborhood associations. We go in and speak. This was a new creation. It's only been around for about 6 or 7 years now. And so I think it's an honor and a privilege to kind of go out to try to prepare people to protect themselves. So.
And we do the same thing. I just did a financial literacy program for teenagers over the weekend.
Right.
So it's important to know that you can call us. The Better Business Bureau also has the Speakers Bureau. We work in tandem with financial crime. We work in tandem with the Attorney General's office. We have that dispute resolution program where if you have something you need to dispute, we have a complaint form. It's online at bbb.org, file a complaint. You can just use general search words and find out anything you need to know about a business, and put in the name of a business, space BBB, and if there's a profile, it will populate. So use these resources, use these people. If you have a financial crime, you should call your financial institution immediately. If it's a credit card crime, turn the card over, call the number on the back. If it happens over the weekend, you have people who are still available, call the numbers. The BBB is online 24/7. If you have a scam or keyword, any search word, you can just put that word, the name of a business, an address, a phone number, and just put in that with the word scam behind it or BBB behind it or scam tracker, and you can virtually find out anything you know in a matter of moments. But you have to be careful because there are also pop-ups. For everything legitimate agencies create, the scammers come back and create a fake. So you have to get better and better at knowing who you can trust and who you can't. And if you can't figure out what to do, call the people you can trust before you do anything. And never, never, never send a gift card to pay for anything. Gift cards are for gifts, gifts only. Do not buy a gift card to buy a computer or anything else.
You know, I'll even say if you're in a drugstore or a grocery store, wherever they have a gift card kiosk, and you see an older person who looks upset or scared, ask them.
Yeah.
That's right.
That is
Ask 'em.
such good advice.
It was probably a year or two ago. My wife and I were checking out at Kroger, and I was kind of in my own world. I wasn't paying attention, and she grabbed me and dragged me over. And there was an older lady that was over, and she was on the phone with somebody, and they were walking her
happening.
through.
Right.
It was like happening right there. She was trying to buy gift cards, and my wife said, "You do something about this." And so I got on the phone, and as soon as I got on the phone, of course, click. But they had stayed on the phone with her and talked her all the way up into the store. No, get this gift card, and they'll let you do this amount of money.
And so cryptocurrency is only for scammers. Yeah. Cryptocurrency is not secure. It's not backed in any form. It's designed to put our monetary systems around the world out of business.
Well,
so
it's
gift
also
cards,
very hard to
cryptocurrency,
track.
yes.
Very hard to track. And that's why you don't hear a lot of these scammers asking you for credit card, because you can challenge credit card, and generally your credit card company, you may only be out $50 as opposed to hundreds. So the gift cards, the crypto, the different types of methods of paying,
wire transfers,
and we didn't mention malware. And again, that's where when you're on a website of something that you know is safe, and this thing pops up, well, you think that it's from the whatever website that you're on, but it might not be.
Correct.
And that one click can release all sorts of nastiness into your system.
It can, and like a lot of the advice I tell people, because people ask, should I get this antivirus program, that antivirus program? I would say yes, like any kind of program. Keep it up to date. It runs in the background. You shouldn't have to fool around with it. Just kind of let it do its thing, And some websites you have a lot of pop-ups and all that. I know that my own parents went through this. They got a phone call, from Microsoft, and they say, "Oh, we've got
it Bill Gates?
It was not. It was not." And they said, "Oh, well, we've learned that your computer's infected, and we're calling you to help." And I told my parents, I said, "Look, Microsoft does not have a command center somewhere where they suddenly
They're not trolling for business.
No, they don't suddenly get a red alert that says Liz Swain's computer has been infected." I said it doesn't work like that. But of course, they call you and they say your computer's infected here, and they, most people don't understand this stuff. They have them download this program, click on this, click on that, and then all they're doing is open opening the door to the scammer, and
Right.
the scammer comes in, and that's how it goes. But keep your antivirus up to date, and understand that Microsoft is not going to call you.
And
very
most
good.
importantly, organizations where a lot of churches have had problems with, the pastor wants you to send money, the pastor needs a gift card for this family. Know your organization.
Right.
Know the email. Know what whether it's your sorority or your church or any other group that you're in. And most importantly, the largest wire transfer problems have been with employees who've been tricked. So we're here to tell you, we will come in, all of us will come in and talk to your employees. You can't do enough employee training on scams.
Well, we get a lot of employee training on scams at the Advocate because, they're everywhere. They're
Yes.
everywhere. They're trying to get your personal information. They're trying to get into your system. And once they've done that, Katie, bar the door.
Well, once
Exactly
scammed,
it.
you're always a target. That's really the most frightening part of what I've learned is that once scammed,
Right.
your name's on the list and you are a target. And the older you are, the more of a target you are. But we know that that's changing too. So again, we want to protect our military. We want to protect our young people. We want to protect everybody.
This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you all being here so much. Is there anything that we have missed? Anything that you feel like you need to tell people to keep them safe?
I think I already mentioned earlier, don't answer the phone. Another thing that I would encourage people, and this is a long-standing frustration that goes back to the years I spent working in financial crimes, is try not to use checks. Checks can be so easily manipulated and counterfeited. And I understand people want to use what they're comfortable with. A lot of people are comfortable with checks and all that, but I've told people over the years, I said, you have to think about it, that if you're mailing a check off to pay a bill or whatever, you're basically just taking a piece of paper and writing down your account information, your personal information on the top of it, and then you send it. And if I told you to do that with just a piece of paper, you would say, well, no, of course I'm not going to do that. Right. But that's all a check is. They're so easily manipulated and counterfeited. So for years we tried to tell people, please stop using checks.
And don't put them in your mailbox with the flag up.
No, not nowadays, because we have countless cases where that happened. You get people come by at 1 o'clock in the morning and they're just going through mailboxes and in broad daylight, and they're just going through and throwing your stuff out on the side of the road until they find the check.
Yeah.
What about you, Laura?
Well, I think I want to say an immediate fix is really going to look at your social media privacy. I think that's a beginning area, what you're sharing, and also don't fall in love with someone that you've met online.
Yeah,
Please
we didn't
don't.
even talk about romance scams.
I've had a former coworker in a different life or area of my job, and whose father actually ended up missing. He was in Russia looking for his girlfriend who had taken him for everything. He was convinced that they truly were in love because they will drag it out. It can be a year and a half before she asks for money. And now, can you even imagine? They don't even have to have a real girl doing this now. They could just have an AI computer pretend to be your girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
No, don't just shut down your social media, make it very private if you're going to do it.
Excellent advice.
And I would say learn how to use the Better Business Bureau information that's there. Don't assume that you can make a good consumer decision on your own. Go to our websites, Google our information. It's so easy. It's there 24/7, and other consumers will tell you what their experiences are. We had a lady at the Monroe airport who was there for 12 hours waiting on someone to get off of that plane. She had lost over $250,000. She was a retired college professor. So scams can happen to anybody. The BBB is here to help you make good decisions. If the business doesn't exist and you've had an experience with it, please do a scam tracker report so that information can be out there for other consumers.
That's right.
Same thing with the complaint process. And we want to thank everyone who's an accredited business, because if it weren't for accredited businesses, the BBB would not be here. So thank you, our accredited businesses, and everyone, please learn who you can trust.
Oh, and that seems to get tougher by the day, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And with the help of the BBB, with the help of, obviously, with our local law enforcement and with the Attorney General's office and also with AARP, they've got an excellent
Wonderful
fraud
scam
category.
information.
Right, scam information that you can go to and access. So there are those entities out there that are there for you, to work for you, to be on your side. But a little bit of the burden is on us in our dealings with people, our dealings with these texts and these emails and these scams. And so we need to know as much as we can about what's going on. So I want to thank you all for being here. Doug Smith, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Laura Seabaugh, Joanne Deal from the Better Business Bureau. If you have questions, there are resources out there for you. We would encourage you to take advantage of all of them. AARP.org, if you'll go to that website, they have a fraud watch network that you can access. It's always updating all the latest scams so you can be in the know. The Louisiana Attorney General's office has the digital information that Laura was telling us about. The Better Business Bureau obviously has resources that you need to go on, take a look at, as local law enforcement does as well, and they are constantly sending out press releases to the media about the scam of the day, unfortunately. So the top takeaways: don't be rushed. Don't let somebody push you into something you feel uncomfortable. Listen to that little voice. Generally, you've got that little voice kind of right back here in the back of your head that's telling you, I don't know about this. Listen to that voice. Check things out. And if you are scammed, don't be embarrassed to tell someone. Right. Tell a lot of people, as a matter of fact. Warn them too. Please, if you will, share this video with your friends. It means a lot when information comes from you and you say, I think that this is a great video, please take a look at it, because the more that we can get this out, the more people are empowered and learn what not to do as well as what to do. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Liz Swaine, and thank you for being part of this.